Micah 4 and 6 from the NLT. Israel's return from exile. In that coming day, says the Lord, I will gather together those who are lame, those who have been exiles, and those whom I have filled with grief. Those who are weak will survive as a remnant. Those who were exiles will become a strong nation. Then I, the Lord, will rule from Jerusalem as their king forever. As for you, Jerusalem, the citadel of God's people, your royal might and power will come back to you again. The kingship will be restored to my precious Jerusalem. But why are you now screaming in terror? Have you no king to lead you? Have your wise people died? Pain has gripped you like a woman in childbirth. Writhe and groan like a woman in labor. You people of Jerusalem, for now you must leave this city to live in the open country. You will soon be exiled, be sent in exile to distant Babylon. But the Lord will rescue you there. He will redeem you from the grip of your enemies. Now many nations have gathered against you. Let her be disgraced. Let her be desecrated. They say, let us see the destruction of Jerusalem. But they do not know the Lord's thoughts or understand his plan. These nations don't know that he is gathering them together to be beaten and trampled like sheaves of grain on a threshing floor. Rise up and crush the nations, O Jerusalem, says the Lord, for I will give you horns. I will give you iron horns and bronze hoofs, so you can trample many nations into pieces. You will present their stolen riches to the Lord, their wealth to the Lord of all the earth. Call Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, B'Hasham, B'Harak HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone who taught us this truth. Peace and salutations to the hopefully elect. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. And this is a promise that Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai has made to his people, man. In this time, his people referring to so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and the scattered elect throughout the four corners of the earth. Okay? And, something stood out to me, in this passage. Verse 13, it says, rise up and crush the nations, O Jerusalem. Okay? I'm going to read it in the KJV. It says, arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make thine horn iron and I will make thy hooves brass. And that's just a metaphor for the kind of power, spiritual power that Israel is going to be bestowed with. All right. And, I went to ChatGPT and kind of asked it to, do, um, an image of what it would look like, with a sheep with iron horns, and hooves of brass. And this is what it gave me, man. As you can see, sheep have woolly hair, representing the kind of hair most of our people would have had back in the day, until we mixed and mingled ourselves with these heathens. But horns are weapons that sheep have to defend themselves. All right. And hooves are also weapons that are given by Yahweh Shemel Shai for the animal to naturally be able to sturdy themselves. And, this is just a representation of what AI gave me. Now, I looked it up, along with that image is, I kind of looked it up. It says a sheep with horns, iron horns, and hoofs of brass, meaning it says this imagery likely refers to the famous Bible verse, Micah 4:13, where the Most High tells his people called daughter Zion to rise and thresh. It says here is the breakdown of its meaning. The metaphor: in ancient times, farmers used oxen with heavy horns to push and metal hooves to thresh, which is what the scriptures say. To thresh grain so that the useful parts separated from the waste, right? It says the iron horns in the Bible represent power and strength. Iron represents something unbreakable and invincible. That's right. I believe the Roman Empire, is represented with iron, right? And iron is one of, it goes into it right here. It says, the hoof of brass, bronze. Bronze is a very hard metal. Hooves were used to stomp on enemies, So iron and brass are very hard metals, like this breakdown says, something unbreakable and invincible. And indeed, our men and the 144 are going to be invincible and unbreakable, not only in the kingdom, but starting right here, on this side of the kingdom, men will be endowed with spiritual powers, man. It says the overall meaning is the Most High is giving his people supernatural power on this side to defend themselves. The Lord said he's going to raise up a standard when Esau comes in like a flood. Okay, part of, when you look up that word standard, it goes into defense, an escape, to be invisible, so that's spiritual powers, man. This is what we got to look forward to, man. It says they will be as strong and hard to stop as a metal bull. They will win against their enemies and take back what is theirs, right? And that's exactly, what Israel is about to do, to stomp these nations, man, and impose our will on them, okay? We're going to be fearsome, man. And the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, he's going to place his anger and his fury within us to thresh and beat to powder these other nations, man. Let's go back. Let's, kind of take it verse by verse a little bit, break it down, the meaning. It says, in that day the Lord will assemble her that halteth. Okay, and when you go into that word halteth, it says to limp, be lame. Okay, it says probably the curve used only as a denominative to limp, as if one-sided halt, to be lame. Okay, and indeed, the Lord injured us. The Lord made us lame. He put if you will, our bounds. He made us weaker. Okay, he weakened us, man. And let's see if I can get that. Okay, Isaiah 42 and 24. It says, I'm reading it in the NLT. Who allowed Israel to be robbed and hurt? It was the Lord against whom we sinned, for the people would not walk in his path, nor would they obey his laws. Therefore, he poured out his fury upon them and destroyed them in battle. They were enveloped in flames, but they still refused to understand. They were consumed by fire, but they did not learn their lesson. See that? So, the point is in verse 24, the Lord gave Israel for a spoil. You see what I'm saying? Esau didn't do anything mighty. He's a base man. He don't have no real power. All the power he has is with his technology, his sword. That's what the Lord gave him. He ain't special. It says, I will make her that halted a remnant. Okay, which that remnant, speaking of the elect, the very few that the Lord is dealing with. Okay, it says, and her that was cast far off, a strong nation, right? And we here in Babylon the Great are cast off far, and he's gathering us through the spirit and power of the word, the Ruach HaKodesh, man. He's gathering his men, okay, putting back the breath in them, according to Ezekiel, right? And he's causing us to stand strong, on our feet. It says, and the Lord shall reign over them in Mount Zion. In Mount Zion from henceforth, even forever. Our kingdom is going to be a forever kingdom, an infinite kingdom, man. Our lives, our lives are going to be forever, immortal, right? Supernatural powers are going to be endowed, right? It says, and thou, O tower of the flock, okay, the stronghold of the daughter of Zion, unto thee shall it come, even the first dominion, the kingdom shall come to the daughter of Jerusalem, right? Okay, speaking of Israel, man, you know, tower of the flock, the elect, man, you know, it says, now why dost thou cry out aloud? Is there no king in thee? Is thy counselor perished? For pangs have taken thee as a woman in travail. Right. You know, our people been through the most, man. You know, what it say, you know, and we ain't even been through the worst yet because Jacob's trouble, we just now entering Jacob's trouble, man. So the worst is yet to come, man. You know, this thing is going to be like a woman, a pregnant woman giving birth. You know, at first the you know, birthing pains are slow and, you know, mild, but then they increase the closer the baby gets to being delivered. They increase and their frequency increase. The pain increases also. You know, it says, "Be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in travail. For now shall thou go forth out of the city, and thou shalt dwell in the field, and thou shalt go even to Babylon." You can't tell me America is not Babylon. Because where we at right now, we in America, right? And it says, thou shalt go even to Babylon. There shalt thou be delivered. When was we delivered from Babylon? In the ancient days. There the Lord shall redeem thee from the hand of thy enemies. When did the Lord redeem us from Babylon by his hand? That never happened. This is a future prophecy, man. You know, don't forget, Israel returned from exile. Still in exile. We are yet this day in our captivity, subject to payments, man. Baruch, right? It says, now also many nations are gathered against thee, that say, let her be defiled, and let our eye look upon Zion, right? Well, isn't that what these nations say? You know, we got enemies, right? Three. Kind. Psalms 83. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. Okay, they have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. They have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. What? The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites and of Moab and the Hagarenes. Okay, and it goes down to tell you who else, man. All these nations that come up against us, man. You know, it says, verse verse 12 says, but they know not the thoughts of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, neither understand they his counsel. for he shall gather them as the sheaves into the floor, right? And once they're gathered as sheaves into the floor, okay, the Lord is going to do this. Verse 13, arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make thine horn iron, and I will make thine hoof brass, and thou shalt beat in pieces many people, and I will consecrate their gain unto the Lord, and their substance unto the Lord of the whole earth. Right? And the Lord told us this, man, from the jump, right? The Lord told us that we're mighty people, right? Told us this in back in Deuteronomy, right? This is Deuteronomy 32, and I'm gonna start at 29. It says, "Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end." Okay, this is the point. How should one chase 8,000 and two put 10,000 to flight, except their rock had sold them and their Lord had shut them up? You see that? I'm going to read that again in the NLT. It says, how could one person chase 8,000 of them? Okay, meaning one of us, one Israelite, chase 1,000 heathens. Okay, and two people put 10,000 to flight, unless their rock had sold them, unless the Lord had given them up. You see, I just said that. The Lord gave us as a spoil, man. The Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shai, put a cap on us. So our might, okay, he halted us, man. He set up our bounds so we cannot pass. He prevented us from being mighty, so these other nations could rule over us. Okay, these other nations is chaff, man. They ain't shit. They spittle, like the Lord said, man. Okay. I want to get this other one. Zechariah 12 and 8. It says, in that day, the Lord, Yahweh Shemar Shai, defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them, that at that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as God. What? In the house of David shall be as God, and the angel of the Lord, Yahweh Shemar Shai, before them. Yahweh Shai, man. Okay? So the feeble among us shall be as David. Now, if you recall, you read the scriptures, David slayed what, 10,000s, right? You know, Saul has killed, what he say? Saul has slayed thousands, but David have slain 10,000s. No, roughly paraphrasing, man. So one of us is going to be as mighty as David. The feeble. Let's look that word up, feeble. No, I'm pretty sure it's going to how weak. Sluggy.
Strong's H3782. Kashal.
Kashal. It says to stumble, to stagger, trotter, to stumble, to totter. Okay, to tottering, to be tottering, be feeble, to cause to stumble, bringing injury or ruin, to overthrow, to make feeble, make weak, right? All right, you get the point. You know, the weakness, to waver through weakness, legs, especially the ankle. You know, the point is, the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shai, is going to change our countenance. He's going to change our demeanor. No more will we be feeble. You know, he's going to take that cap off of us, okay, and fill us back with his fury, his spiritual power, okay, and you know, we gonna be unleashed, man. Say it, verse 9, it says, and it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. And I will pour upon the house of David, which is the elect, and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem, this is the rest of the 1/3, and the spirit of grace and of supplication, and they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, whom they pierced, right? Yahweh Shai, they pierced him, and they shall mourn for him, right? As one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him, as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. See that? So we gonna know the Lord, man. You see, we're gonna be sorrowful in that day, but you know the Lord is going to you know, give us the spiritual powers that we need to take vengeance for him, right? Upon these nations, man. Let's go to Jeremiah 51. Take this down. Okay. Jeremiah 51:20 says, for thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee I will break in pieces the nations, and with thee I will destroy kingdoms. The Lord is going to beat these nations to pieces with us. Okay, the Lord, the man of Yahweh Shemel Shai, is going to be granted spiritual powers to do his bidding, man. He's going to take that feebleness off of us, okay, and fill us up with spiritual power, okay, and his anger, his righteous anger, because, you know, Jake can't get mad enough, man. You see Jake, how docile Jake is most of the time. You know, you have all these nations ganging up on us, and Jake don't seem to be angry enough. You know, Jake want to forgive these nations, especially Esau, Edom, the worst of them. But that's gonna come up off us, man. That mindset, that whole feebleness is gonna come up off us, man. The Lord is gonna break our bonds, man, and give us the mindset, the spirit to be mighty, man, in that day, man. It says, and with thee I will break in pieces the horse and his rider, and with thee I will break in pieces the chariot and his rider. Okay, all of Esau's weaponry, you know, these guns, these tanks, you know, these drones, airplanes, you know, these naval ships, man. We gonna smash that shit. Okay, gonna smash all that, man. Them weapons ain't gonna mean nothing to us, man, because we got spiritual powers from Yahweh Shemel Shai, man. Okay, it says, with thee also I will break in pieces man and woman, and with thee I will break in pieces old and young. Hey, because Esau didn't regard the old or the young. Okay, so we not gonna do the same. And with thee I will break in pieces the young man and maiden. I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock. All the leaders, okay, of the military, that come up against us, we're going to scatter the flock, okay? And with thee I will break in pieces the husbandman and his yoke of oxen, okay, the ones that we work for, all these companies that take advantage of us, don't want to pay us, want to work us to death. All these cotton descendants of cotton slave bearing names, Johnston and all Andrew Jacksons and all of them, we're gonna break in pieces their whole body is we're gonna smash them, man. I can't sometimes I can't I get excited thinking about it. I can't even speak sometimes, man. I can't wait. And with thee I will break in pieces captains and rulers, and I will render unto Babylon. When did this happen, man? When did this happen in the old days? This is a prophecy, man, that will come to pass. It says, when and I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith the Lord power, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Maharik HaKadosh. All right. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain. Right? That destroying mountain is speaking about Babylon the Great, man. Okay. Saith the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, which destroy all the earth. This man has destroyed all the earth, man. Cut down his trees, inhabited lands that he has no business being there. Changed the names of the people and the lands. Stolen resources. Okay. He's misplaced thousands of animals and slayed animals that was, had no beef with him. And took their heads and put them up on walls and shit. He's hung and killed and raped and murdered, the Israelites, man. It says, and I will stretch out my hand upon thee and roll thee down from the rocks and will make thee a burnt mountain. Amen. Call all y'all Bashim Al-Shai, Bashim Al-Kakwadash, man. Double honors to the apostles of hell is a great millstone, peace of salutations to the whole elect, all will edifying to the point. Till next time, I say shalom.